Record. Start. Okay, welcome back to class, guys. Today is Wednesday, right? Yeah. And so our main topic today is express. But before we move to the main topic, let's review what we have learned yesterday. So can anyone tell me what we have learned yesterday?
We learned how to code in terminal.
To input command via the terminal.
Yes,
yeah.
We learned that. We also learned one of the most important feature of Node.js is like we read the files from our system and write the file, right? Hello, Lynn. And okay, you may not need to know, you may not use those kind of functions, but in a couple of apps, you will use it. So it's good to know. And you also learn how to input arguments, or you have how to run a command line in terminal to run the script, for example. What else? You learn much more than that, but you don't know what it is. And today, it will be more clear, right? So everything will become clearer at the on the next day, right? So at first, when you do it, you don't recognize what you're doing. But after that, one day after that, or 2 days after that, you will so that's it. So that's what I'm doing. I had no idea what I did there, but now I understand. It's kind of like that. The learning process is like that. So you're not expect to understand everything on the first day, but on the subsequent days, you will understand more, right? Okay, I'm going to check. Did I share the screen? Am I sharing the screen? Can you hear me? Chat. Hello? Yes. Okay. So today's topic is about Express. Well, you heard Node.js, you hear Node.js, you hear about Express, but I think like most of you don't know what Express is, right? Yesterday you only learned how to run the script using terminal. It's not a web server, it's just script, a simple script, right? Today we will learn Express, and Express is gonna help us build a web server. Okay. And there's a couple of reasons why we need to learn a new tool. For example, Express. Express is just a tool. And yeah, to build a web server, but manually, it's very hard. There's a lot of things you have to deal with. And there are a lot of steps you have to go through to create a web server. That's why the server logic is complex. And you will see how complex it is as you have more feature and you like explore more about Node.js, about the web server. Right now you don't see it yet, and it's very hard to explain right now. So just pay attention to this. It's get more complicated as we go on through the course. And because it's so complex to build a web server, people create a tool. Maybe not one. There are a lot of them, but they create tools to help us build a web server like easier, and so what we can ignore all of those nitty-gritty details. We don't have to worry about those little things because we're gonna repeat those things again and again and again. And we don't want to do that. We want to spend more time on our logic, our application logic, rather than the syntax. Okay. And that's why we have framework. Express is a framework. It helps us build a web server without worrying about those little details. Here, and you may ask, what's a framework? Framework is actually just like a library, but it has a lot of helper function. There's a lot of tools and rules that you have to follow. Right? There's a lot of rules you have to follow. And you can either follow it. If you want to use it, you have to follow the rules. If you don't want to use it, if you don't want to follow the rules, then don't use it. Use another tool. But there will be more different rules that you have to follow if you pick up another tool. And there's a couple of reasons why we chose Express. Express is a framework, kind of like a minimal framework. It's not a framework. There are different types of framework, right? There's a minimal framework, like the very basic framework, and there's a framework that some framework that have a lot of built-in function that you don't even need to use, and it will become very huge. There's a lot of function you never use, and it's gonna be like it's very heavy for your web server, and that's why we decided to go with Express. There are a couple more reasons why we use it. Let's see it. Oh, okay, here we go. It's the most popular, maybe one of the first framework out there, and it's very popular that like most beginners use it, right? It's very minimal, like there's only basic function, the basic helpers that allow us to use to build a web server. And all the frameworks are based on Express. They just add more filter, they add more rules, they add more logic into Express, and it becomes another framework. We are not gonna learn those. Even though it's minimal, it also have a lot of features out of the box. Right? You will see it in the lab, and it's flexible. You can add more feature, you can add more plugin. If you decide to go with that library, you can just download that library and import it and use it. There are a couple of alternatives. If you don't want to use Express, for example, you can use the vanilla.js. You build a web server manually, right? Manually. It takes a while to do that. There's also another framework called Adonis. It's inspired by PHP, and the syntax is very similar. Also, there's Koa. I don't know about Koa though. Never use it. Also, Sail.js is very new. It's not very new, but it's new. It's much like it just came out lately, and there's a bunch of things built in Sail.js. And the rules, there's a bunch of rules as well. It's very hard to use it because you have to follow exactly the rules, the design pattern, and it's not good for beginner to know about it yet. Yeah. And in Express, they use the MVC design pattern. Yeah. You heard about MVC a lot, but you have no idea what it is. So MVC is M stands for models, V stands for views, and C stands for controllers. You actually use this design pattern yesterday, but you don't know about it. Right? You actually used it yesterday. So I'll explain more later. And the idea of MVC in a very short sentence, like it's just a separation of concerns. You will have different parts to do different things. Like you separate them completely. We try to separate them. And for example, this part will do this job only. For example, on my left hand, I will do like pick up the phone only, right? And then pass it to my right hand. And my right hand will like put it on my ear and then say something. So every part will do different things. And here's the illustration. M, V, C, and user. Okay. So you may not understand it yet, but let's see. Here's some more detail. But let me show you here. M is just model. When we talk about model, we talk about the database. We talk about the function that will have us manipulate the database. For example, create, read, update, and delete. Those kinds of functions. We call them model. It belongs to the model objects. So we call them model. And so V is views, right? Views. Basically, views is just, for example, you actually use view a lot. React, for example. React is a view. Right? You use React to render something, just render something, nothing more. Render stuff, you receive the data from the server, the M and the C here, and then you render those data to the user on the browser. And the user will see those presentation on browser, right? So view just render, and view usually is a standalone app. Okay. And controller is something that connect view and model. Right? In this picture, it's not very clear, but controller is usually like, it's kind of like a middleman. It will connect the model and the view. Basically, everything go between model and view will go through controller. Controller is where we decide what's gonna happen. And here you will see more about it. Okay, there's more detailed definition about models. Model are objects. You don't know about object. It's class. Object in JavaScript. There's no such thing called class in JavaScript, but for OOP we usually call it objects. And there's a bunch of, for example, function, methods, static functions, something like that, belong to objects. And you see those, for example, I will go into the example in your to-do app, like in a couple of minutes. But models are database, and some function that help us manipulate the database. Okay. So in database is a different language. The database language is a different language. So model will help us connect that language into our JavaScript language, right? And it allows us to work with the data. Yeah, it's very clear. Save, read, update, and delete. The CRUD operation. Create, read, update, and delete. Yeah. And the views in mostly HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Basically, it's our React, right? And usually it's decoupled from our app. You can bring the view somewhere else. You can run it individually. It doesn't have to be inside your backend application. And controllers, something in the middle, we connect the views with the database. And it contains in-between logic. For example, I will give an example here. If you go to Google, right? No, yeah, go to facebook.com, and there's, when you hit enter on the browser, facebook.com in the browser, you send a request to the server, Facebook server, and there's the controller. That's when the controller come in. It will check, are you a user, a Facebook user? Are you logged in already? So those kind of stuff, those kind of questions, those kind of steps are called the in-between logic. Okay, it will check if you're a user, it will render different things. If you're not a user, it will ask you to log in, right? If your account is locked or disabled, it will say something, okay, you need to unlock your account, for example. Those kind of stuff is in-between logic. It belongs to controller. And controller, we decide what the user see, like what it return to the views. So it decide what view will show. And based on what? Based on the data from the model. Okay. Kind of like controller in the middle. I will show you an example in your to-do app. Okay, let's go and open your to-do app. Airtable. So here the submission from yesterday. I didn't have enough time to check every single one, but let's pick. No, Huang is so complicated. Let's pick Elisa. Okay. You can see here. So these functions are kind of like method for the model, right? It read the data from the database, right? Read the data from the database, save the data into the database, and it also add something to the database, right? So these functions are kind of like models, and you will learn those in next week. Right? This week we only focus on controller and views. So next week we learn more about database and model. And here, the yaps come in here are basically your controller. So every time you hit a command, the terminal we receive it, it kind of like request, right? It will go through your script, and your script will check all the commands, which is all the controllers. If the command is list, it will run this logic, right? So this is your controller. Everything is controller. And guess what's your view? We have model, we have controller. What's the view? Can someone answer that? What's the view? It's just a console log. Now, terminal is a tool, a browser, kind of like a browser, right? If you compare to a website, it's a browser. And the only view we have here is the console log, right? We show them, we show everything. We render the data by using console log. It's very simple. Console log. So here's the controller. Inside the controller, we have a bunch of logic. Like if something equals something, blah blah blah, and then we console log it. This is the view, our view here. Very simple. But the controller control everything. It control what we console log, what we want to log out, right? It control all the data. And the view is just very simple. It just render, nothing else. Same thing. So these are controller. Yeah, command controllers. So now let's be compare what you were doing yesterday. And basically that's it for a very simple MVC design pattern, but yeah, a very simple one. Okay. Do you have any question about the MVC here yet? Right.
So to address handle the three, it's a fully MVC model, right? It's an MVC
design pattern.
It has three. What to say? So it has three. It has three elements like that, right?
You can call it three kind of if you group it into functionality, yeah. MVC design pattern, or you can call it framework if you want. But for view, there are two different kind of views, and we will learn one of them today. There will be server-side rendering and client-side rendering. What we have learned in the last 6 weeks was client-side rendering. So basically, those scripts run on the browser. And we only serve the HTML and the scripts. So those scripts will run on the browser. Today, we will learn the same thing. The script will also run on the browser, but we serve the script on the server side. So let's go back to the slides here. There's something called view engine. View engine is something that we will serve the views to the user, to the client. And it will act similar to React, but kind of different. React is kind of like a client-side render. And our view today will be server-side render. There's a big difference, but it's not clear for you yet, but you understand more. Same thing, the view engine here will have a couple of engines, for example, handlebars, puck, and React can be also a view engine. It allows you to reuse your code. For example, in React, you have components, right? Components, for example, headers, body, footer, those kind of components. You can also use it in the view engine here to be resized the handlebars. Today we will learn about handlebars to be resized. And in handlebar, we also have those things. But it's more like HTML rather than component in React. And those kind of components, you may say, the view engine here, it will allow you to have dynamic data. Basically, you can call a variable inside your HTML, just like CSS. Right? Inside your CSS, you have HTML elements, and you can call a variable like with a curly braces inside. It's the same thing here. You can do it. You can do the same thing in a view engine. For example, the handlebars here, or puck. Puck is for beginner, Pug is harder to use compared to handlebars. Handlebars is more like HTML. That's why we decided to go with handlebars. And we have a couple of different view engines. They are all inspired by Mustang view. So they are all inspired by Mustang. So our main focus today is the controller. We will learn how to set up our web server and how to use the controller, just a basic. And we also learn how to use the views engine, which is the server-side render view. And we expect to encounter a lot of error today because everything is new to you, I bet. Everything is totally new, right? There's a lot of boilerplates, which is like setups that you have to accept. You cannot change it yet. You may not understand what the hell they are, right? But just use them. We will explore more in detail one by one as we go on in the course, right? This is more explanation about the handlebars. So we know that handlebar is a view engine here, right? So it's more like React, kind of like React, but there are no state. So she's so small. So here's, for example, here's an HTML page from Facebook. This is my profile, for example. And the server jobs is to send all the data, all the information to the view. As I said before, controller send all information to the view, and it's the view job to render those information, right? So now, can you tell me which information is from the database, from the server? Just try it. Which element on the image here is from the database? It means like which is dynamic and which is fixed. Yes. So this information is dynamic, right? It's different from person to persons, right? It's dynamic. So it's come from the database. Yes, my avatar, my name.
It's dynamic except the intro.
Yeah, except intro. You're right, but not enough. The icon here, these icons are fixed, right? You get it from views. And the UI here, the template, the layout, is also from the view. The color, the template, the layout, the navbar here, the frame here, they are all from the views. Just the strings, the text here is dynamic, right? The logo, it's not logo, sorry. My avatar is dynamic. And the square, the shape here is also from the view template. So you need to understand what's the view, what's come from view, and what come from database, right? And the handlebar is kind of like a very dumb React, right? It's harder to use, I would say. And so remember on week 2 and 3, we use something like this, right? Let HTML or something equal to a strings. And inside a string, we can use HTML element. We can also use variable inside the string, right? So this is syntax we learned in week 2 and 3. Okay, we use it a lot. I hate it. It's very hard to control. Like you cannot format it. There's no auto format. It's very hard to follow. And if the string get like too long, like one page, it's very hard to deal with. And for this, we cannot have logic, complicated logic inside, right? But for the view engine, we can actually have more complicated logic. For example, we can call this is a symbol logic, right? We can, instead of using $sign and the curly braces, we use double curly braces and the name of the variable, for example. Or for more complicated logic, we can use if else here, like this. So we start the if block, and then we end the if block. Right? Is it clear? It's very English to me. If there's author, we show the first name and the last name, and then we end it if. If there's no author, the view will not render this line. Okay. So now, so there's a for each for loop. Okay. So author is an array. It's an array, and we use this syntax for each author. We render first name and last name. Right.
Is it handboard or syntax? What syntax is this from?
It's going to be the syntax for handlebars. Yeah, so you will learn it in the lab. Right? For each element inside author, we call first name and last name. Kind of like that. And then we end the loop each. And actually, this syntax is very similar to other view engine in other frameworks, other languages. For example, in Ruby on Rails, Python, Flash, Django, they have very similar syntax because they are all inspired each other. Right? This view engine copies something from the other view engine, and the other view engine copies something from this view engine. So they're very similar to each other. Right. So you may see this very similar to, I would say, kind of a little bit like JSX, right? Instead of using one curly braces, you have double curly braces here. And there's a bit of difference between from how you run a for loop in JSX React App comparing to handlebars. So if you find similar to something that you already knew, because they inspire each other. So that's the whole thing today. We will learn today. Main focus, again, main focus. Controllers, there one more. How to set up web server. Usually earlier in the last bootcamp, I show students how to manually create a web server, start from scratch. But Charles wants us to use a tool called Express Generator. Basically, that tool will create a lot of code for us. So we just use it. This is like how we run NVM React App, right? It creates a bunch of files, and we just use them. We don't have to create anything. So we're going to use that tool. And that's going to create a web server for us. And then we learn how to use controller. We try to understand controller and how to use them. And lastly, we need to understand about views, especially the handlebars, so that we can render stuff on the browser like this. So these are render using the views. So views, we can use any view engine, for example, handlebars, Park, or JSX, which Hoàng already used yesterday. He showed me how to render React app on the server side. It's cool, but I don't think that's library is like complete, like perfect. And yeah, there'll be a lot of problem today, I expect. Sometimes it's work on my computer, sometimes it work on my code, but it doesn't work on Bitnat code. I tried, so Bitnat ran into a problem yesterday. There's a bunch of things that work on my website, but doesn't work on hers. I didn't even know why, to be honest. Right? Especially for the ID here. For example, yesterday she ran into a problem to open a model. We have the same code, the same value, but it doesn't run on her computer. So we needed to find out the problems, and then we had to. The problem is like I have my picture is JPEG, so right here. Her picture is PNG, and it doesn't work on hers. So that's a bunch of weird problems. And if you have time and you can find all the bugs, and you're sure that the bug is not from yours, it's not yours. it's from the library or the framework. You can open an issue, open a ticket on GitHub, and then contribute to the community. Yeah, there's a lot of bugs. Don't worry. From those library, there are a bunch of bugs. Even on tiki.vn, there's a bunch of bugs on their website. Yeah, if you want to find a job, just email them. Hey man, this filter doesn't work correctly. So here's my suggestion. Yeah, actually you can find a job like that. If you buy stuff on Tiki a lot, there are kind of like there's a bug in their cart, the basket. It doesn't render correctly sometimes. Okay, that's the whole thing here today. I know this is very abstract to you right now, but if you can think of anything, just ask. It's very abstract, I know. Oh shit, there's podcast. Damn to me. So okay, why are you asking me? So do we need to use React instead of that question? How to write just that? We're not gonna learn. We are not gonna confuse ourselves more than this, right? We're gonna use a very traditional way to render the view on the server. Let's try with handlebars first. It's very easy. I would say it's much like HTML with a dynamic variable. So try that first before you actually try to implement React into the server-side render.
Based on your experience, is handlebar easier than React?
There's pros and cons because it's easier to use, and so it's very limited. It's not as beautiful as React. Okay. Do you have any question? We and other people? We have like a couple of people who are home today. Just 2 months.
But there's some question I forgot to ask yesterday. So we have learned a lot about Node.js, but can you explain again what is Node.js again? Because I don't think we understand much about that.
Okay, Node.js is just a runtime that allow you to execute JavaScript code on the server side, on the server.
And what is the server side?
A server is like your machine, your laptop, your desktop, your Mac, your MacBook, for example, your Dell, for example, those kind of machine, we can run it on different machines or different platform. We can run the same code on different platform. Okay.
How different is it compared to localhost?
Localhost is actually localhost is created by Node.js, right? React app, right? When you run React app, you will see a lot of different similar things, files compared to a normal Node.js app. For example, the bucket.json. So it's created by Node.js. Actually, it's run on Node.js. React app, it will run a server, a web server, and it will serve the HTML JavaScript code.
So when you run the React app, usually you running Node.js.
Yeah, Node.js is something that helps you to run React app. It's bigger, it's more broad than React. What I'm going to say? So just keep in mind, controller is the middleman, kind of like the middleman. It controls all the logics. The models are just to handle the data. If you want, for example, model is kind of like a supermarket, the storage, right? There will be some keeper in there. You go, controller will be kind of like the salesman. Salesman will go to the storage, the store, and then say, okay, give me something. Give me that book. Give me that apple. Give me that candy. And the keeper, the model, we go into the storage and find those stuff and give it to the salesman, right? And you, as a customer, will be the viewer, maybe the user. you only see stuff that the views show you, the controllers show you.
Okay, so one more question.
Yes.
Basically, React also use Node.js. So why don't we just make our project also on React? So we already learned React.
No. React is a browser view, like kind of like client rendering, browser render view. How do we say it? It doesn't run on the server. It doesn't run on the server. It runs mainly on the browser, and in the browser, as we learned yesterday, there's a lot of things that we cannot do. And JavaScript that run on the browser is not safe. Like people will see everything. They will get all the information. For example, your keys, right? API keys, or maybe your account keys, something like that. Those kind of stuff will be exposed. And using a server-side rendering is kind of like more secure. And also that's the old way of doing it. But using server-side rendering is like, it will put the stress on your server. The server will have to handle more stuff comparing to, for example, React. You put React on the client side, the client computer will handle all of those tasks for you. So your server will have less stress. Okay. So main focus today, views and controllers. Views and controllers. Next week, we're gonna learn models. So this week, we're gonna practice about view and controllers, right? Okay, questions? No more? Right, let's take a break. And I will walk you through the first 1 and 2 milestones to set up your web server. Right, 10-minute break, guys.